Join us now for Education Matters, a weekly look at the real people and real stories in education across North Carolina.
Welcome to this week's Education Matters. This is a special episode today. We are actually filming this live at the Public School Forum's 5th annual Eggs and Issues Breakfast. We're at Marbles Kids Museum in downtown Raleigh, which is just a happy place to have an event like this that's focused on children. We just got through talking about the top 10 education issues for 2019, and I have really a phenomenal panel that's going to talk to you and give you their insights about what they think are some of the top issues and what they think we should be doing about it. To my right, we have Beth Embry. Beth is the 2018-2019 North Carolina School Counselor of the Year from Catawba County Schools. To my immediate right is Freebird McKinney. Freebird is the 2018 Burroughs Wellcome Fund North Carolina Teacher of the Year, proud son from Alamance Burlington Schools. So welcome. To my left is Alexa Jimenez. Alexa is a 2018 Latinx 20 Under 20 honoree, and she is a current student at Heritage High School in Wake Forest. Thank you, Alexa. And last but certainly not least, Tabari Wallace, 2018 Wells Fargo, North Carolina Principal of the Year, Craven County Schools. So welcome, everybody. All right, let's jump into our topics. Our number one issue for 2019, the Public School Forum, is public schools for the public good. Now, we showed a video with some folks talking about what their public schools mean to them, but since y'all are going to be here together on stage with me, I didn't get a video of you. I thought I would just ask you directly. So I want to ask you, I guess first, I'm going to start with you, Freebird. Okay. What do public schools mean to you?
So, and Lauren said it, I actually grew up in the Charlotte MEC system too, went to Irwin Open School, and I had a teacher, Miss Velasquez. And one of the most memorable activities that she did is she made us line up and we had to sing "We Are the World" as a class before we went out to PE. And so I had an amazing, diverse group of colleagues, and it taught me so much about how to build a collective and collaborative effort together, because we all wanted to get outside for recess. But how do we do that? And we had to align with Kenny Rogers and Michael Jackson. And so it gave us, and that's what schools can do. They can create this sense of bond that transcends our classrooms and goes out into this greater community. But it can also give us the confidence to become who we are as a human being. It can allow us self-actualization and self-realization, even by transcending many of the needs we have that we're going to kind of talk about today in response to, the needs that we're trying to serve our students when it comes to Maslow's.
What about you, Beth?
I certainly have had many wonderful experiences as a student, but I think I am most proud of my personal family lineage. I am a 4th-generation public school educator. My great-grandmother, my grandmother, and my mother, who is here today.
She's here in the audience.
But yes. I'm just super proud of the historical impact that my family has had, and encouraging that among our youth to also be a part of that culture within our community.
Tabari?
Well, pretty much that's where you find yourself. That's where school is, where you set your direction and your futuristic path. And you're surrounded by people that actually believe in you. People that you don't know, but after 180 days, you're best friends. I've got to tell you, and you run into influential teachers that definitely see things in you and tell you things that you didn't see in yourself. So I wouldn't be standing here right now today if somebody else outside an external entity didn't tell me that I could be somebody. And then they set that path right there. Bernadette Green, chemistry. I made an A in her class.
Isn't it the most amazing? We remember these teachers' names forever. Forever. Alexa, all right, you've got this. Got a heads up on all this. You're still a student in a public school in North Carolina. So talk to me about what your school means to you.
Well, I've been in public school since kindergarten, and I think people don't realize how much it influences you. You're there 5 days a week for 8 hours, surrounded by teachers, other peers, and your peers come from different households and different cultures. And I think that's such a beautiful thing, that you get to see a different style of life that you would if you just, you were homeschooled, or maybe you went to a private school that didn't have as great of a diversity. And so that's why I love going to a public school. And like they were all saying, teachers impact you in a way that you would never realize, whether that's challenging you in some classes where you're like, oh my gosh, I'm not gonna make it, or if it's just helping you with your career planning that you want to do in the future and how you can be eventually a member of society as well.
Yeah. Freebird, you and I talked about this briefly the other day, about our state's focus and commitment to public schools. Do you think we're as committed today to the public schools, or as committed as we need to be?
So, and traveling around the state this past year has given me some really keen insight. So at the grassroots level, it's been so humbling to go into schools and to meet teachers, and I've never seen such commitment. I think the greatest lesson I've learned, and I'm not just saying this, is like, I'm not the actual teacher of the year. I was named the teacher of the year, but there are 100 teachers out there that are so committed at the grassroots level. And I think if we're looking at that in that teacher's classroom and at that school level, the level of commitment is off the charts. As we progress and now we get this kind of 30,000 feet of view up in the air, this is a perfect example of how committed a large segment of our population is towards education. We just need, as educators, to educate the rest of the public on what our needs is and the changing demographics of what our schools represent and what the needs of our students in those schools are. So I think as we look towards the future, I would like to continue the commitment we see at the grassroots level and really move that at a greater level and try and educate the rest of the public about what the needs of our schools are.
And some of that, look, some of that does show up in adequacy and equity of funding. To Bart, I mean, do you see differences in sort of funding across the state? I mean, you're over in Craven County.
Yeah, and my West Craven High School is in the rural part of Craven County, and to see the inequity in the funding, we could do so much more if we had more resources to do it with. We're going to take care of our babies. Now, don't get me wrong. That's why you see a lot of teachers in Walmart. You see a lot of teachers getting what the students need. So we're going to take care of our babies.
Well, we need to be taking care. We need to be taking care of you, though,
right?
Right.
Exactly. Exactly.
All right. I do want to. Ask. I want to shift into this. We may have to take a commercial break before we start, but in about 3 weeks, we're going to mark the 1-year anniversary of the horrific shooting at Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School. 3 months ago, we had a shooting in Charlotte. Alexa, you're a current student now. I mean, I remember growing up in Fayetteville, we had tornado drills where we went out in the hallway. We didn't have active shooter drills. You're the active shooter drill generation. How does that? I mean, is that it's just there?
It's something inevitable, I think, for us to think about. I mean, we see it all the time in the media, and you don't want to think like, oh, maybe it's my school, but at this point, it's something that you're forced to think about. And I think there's good groundwork with, you know, the lockdown drills and educating what code red, code green, or code yellow means. And we definitely know what we have to do in an event, but I think what's most important is preventing an event like that to ever happen in the first place. Whether that be, you know, adding more guidance counselors and psychologists to the school, or just teaching students to be aware of their peers and look for signs that might point out, you know, an event like that's so tragic and so horrible.
Right. I want to go ahead and take advantage of a quick commercial break. But when we come back, I want to maybe talk a little bit more about safety, but then I want to get into the teaching profession more exclusively, and I also want to talk about race equity issues in our schools. So stick around.